The need for reinforcement of behavior results in a lack of confidence in your own actions. Many of us go through periods in our life where someone or something takes precedence, controlling all our thoughts and actions. It could be your boss, husband, or mother-in-law. Rani has a long history with her mother-in-law. From the time she was married, all she wanted from her was approval and love, which she never got, no matter how hard she tried. In the beginning, this made her try harder, yet every time she found herself falling short of her mother-in-law's expectations. She was just not good enough for her son. Over a period of time, this subliminal desire for approval controlled Rani to such an extent that she was always in a heightened state of stress. She made mistakes, and when she was reprimanded, it led to guilt and tears, followed by a sense of hopelessness. No matter how hard she tried, she never got the love and approval she craved. As a result, she had no confidence in anything she did or said, and whatever she did seemed doomed for failure. It took almost 10 years for Rani to disengage and break away from this cycle. Her release came only after she moved to live in another country. For Rani, her lack of self-esteem resulted in a fear of mistakes, hypersensitivity to everything, overwhelming guilt, and a need to compensate her unacceptable behaviors. For others, it can lead to isolation, withdrawal, depression, and neurosis, and the need to control every aspect of their lives, often resulting in a serious health repercussion. If you examine the neuroses of battered women, you will notice this chain of behavior, tying them to a marriage in spite of knowing that to escape the predicament or face more abuse and even death is their choice. The shackles are so strong because their self-esteem is at an all-time low. Why are women, not in just one culture, in every culture, victims of abuse? You get into a relationship, and in every marriage, things are not always smooth, right? And normal people will figure out a way to make things work. But in many cases, what happens? Women have a tendency to put it all in and say, it's probably my fault. I probably should do something differently. I probably should have said this. I probably should have said that. They continually blame themselves and make themselves a victim. Because as soon as you blame yourself, you're not good enough. You're never okay. You can never live up to the mark, so you're always nervous. You're always scared, and you've automatically, in a power equation, you've put yourself here. Nobody put you there. You have put yourself there. You've got into the victim mentality, saying that I don't deserve better. This is my lot in life. I can do nothing about it. I have no choice. This is, women should be treated like this. Many countries, it's the women who continue the cycle of abuse. I know in India, the mother-in-law is the one who has been abused by her mother-in-law. And when she gets authority in the house, she does it to her daughter-in-law. In this country, it is often the men. We had the woman from Women in Distress, I think. Not Women in Distress. I think she's the Broward County councillor, whatever, the person who deals with all these women's shelters. And she was saying that 1 in 9 calls, like you get 9 calls from a family before it ends in death. So either the man loses it and kills the woman, or the woman loses it and kills the husband. Because there has never been an acknowledgement of what is happening and learning to live through it. You continually feel that you're being repressed, you're being abused, you're being repressed. You never actually take any action until one day it just explodes. It just explodes. Today Rajiv was talking to a friend of ours who works for this Prison Smart program that Art of Living has in the women's prison in Allendale on Hialeah. Homestead, sorry. Something with H. And he said the lifers have all killed their husbands. And the ones that are in for 6 or 7 years have attempted to. All from domestic abuse. Most of them. And you think about this. They get into a prison which is a school of crime. There is no escape from it. They must have been pushed to such an extent. They committed a crime, and now the system has it in such a way, they are the ones at fault. In our lives too, in a very small way, perhaps not to the extent of being physically abused, many times our relationships with others, or at least 1 or 2 people in our lives, takes on this taint. You feel less than the other person. And if you feel less than the other person, that relationship is doomed for failure. You're never going to settle it. Resolve it. Bring it to the surface. Because self-esteem is extremely important to feel that you're of any value to this world. The minute you think that, oh my God, that's a New York Times bestseller, I am nothing. Already you've put yourself down. I am nothing, they are something fantastic. He's so learned, what do I know? I've just been, teaching meditation for 3 years. Oh, there are many ways that you can immediately put yourself at a disadvantage. And it's a habit. It's a habit that we get into. Very often, when women get together in large groups, what do they talk about? Either their husbands or their mothers-in-law. And their friends are continuing telling them, you know what, I know, I really feel for you. Oh my God, you poor thing, you're going through so much trouble. She's really horrible or he's really horrible. So you're buying into this whole thing. You're reinforcing in that woman a feeling that poor thing, her life sucks, she's being abused, she's a victim. There's no hope for her. There's no hope for her. Be careful. I know all of us get into these groups. I don't know whether men discuss these things. Do men ever discuss? Never. I don't know. So I've got a feeling that this is a different way that men relate to each other and women relate to each other. Rajiv is listening to this talk and saying, what's she talking about? So is Raymond. I don't think I've ever discussed our women are different. Women do. Women do. They tend to complain. And the more they complain in groups and the more that, you commiserate with them and say, yes, The best advice you can give to someone who's going through a relationship problem, whether it's with the boss, and nowadays a lot of it is coming out, is a relationship with the boss. What is all this #MeToo? It is a power relationship. It is when you feel that you have to behave in a certain way because it's a question of my job, it's a question of my livelihood, it's a question of my future. And then you put up with something that causes a deep anxiety within, makes you feel terrible about yourself. And one day it bursts, the bubble, you can't take it anymore. And that's when the violence takes place. In poor family especially, she was telling me that Miami-Dade 1 in 3 police cases are domestic abuse. Why? Because a lot of the women are undocumented. And in the Latino household, the man is macho. The woman is supposed to behave in a certain way. And she has no documentation. She can't go to the police. She doesn't think she can. She's scared of that, right? That's one thing. And then she's got 2-3 children with her. That's another handicap women feel. Oh my God, what am I going to do? But the damage that they're doing to everything, because most often when the relationship is not going, life is not smooth, there's also a lot of alcohol involved. When alcohol gets involved in your options are never rational. You're likely to give in to an impulse. Without alcohol, you would probably just, walk out of the room. With alcohol, you'll have the courage to slap the other person. You're not thinking of the consequences. This is the truth. This is the truth. And accidents happen then. What is built up within you, years of resentment, anger, hatred. You see it even in India amongst the classes. You see it amongst the classes. If you create such a division between one class and another, that one is all powerful and the other is helpless and powerless, then anarchy begins. And you're seeing it, I see it a lot in people's eyes. I see that, we call it in Tamil, erichal. I don't know how to translate it. Burning would be a wrong word to use. But a kind of how does he have what I should have? Let me take it. So a lot of the violence and the violent crimes in India take place because of this. And that was the first thought I had when they gave the tax breaks for the rich in this country. I said, yes, they're making the rich richer, but by making the poor poorer, they're making it bad for all of us, because it is going to lead to violence at some point. That erichal, I don't know how to translate that word, but please understand it, whoever's listening. Not jealousy, it's more than a jealousy.
Envy?
It's a very deep frustration and anger, and it's all of it combined, It's a feeling of being hopeless, and there's nothing left for me. Let me take what the other man has.
Rage.
And that's what happens. It's a rage within, that you can see it in people's eyes. Today, if you walk on the streets of Bombay or Delhi, or in the big metro cities, you can see it in their eyes. You walk in Mexico City, you can see it in their eyes. You go to Tulum or to one of the smaller villages, you see the softness of people that are comfortable in their own lives. They don't feel that they're being used. They're very comfortable and happy. There is no envy. There is no clash among the classes. It doesn't happen only to women in such cases. It happens to each one of us. At some point in our lives, we felt less than someone else. When somebody walks into a room, immediately you're gauging, is she my kind? Is she the kind that I don't hang out with? Or is she the kind that, she wouldn't talk to me? See, we always are trying to get this power equation going. Very naturally we do it. We don't even recognize when it is happening. You never feel free enough to act. But if you keep repressing these feelings, they're going to come up at some time. Your subconscious is like a reservoir. It absorbs and absorbs everything that you send it. And always say that it also depends on the kind of television shows that you watch. Because I'm not sure if the subconscious understands whether these images that are coming are real or in a movie. But it's coming through, right? All the dysfunctional shows that we watch. We're getting annoyed and enraged because someone is being treated like that, or someone is being killed, or someone is being hurt. What does the subconscious understand? The emotion that is coming up. When you're watching, you're not watching like a zombie. You're reacting to everything that you're watching, to everything that you're seeing. Everything that happens to you gets filtered in through your senses and settles in your subconscious. If you don't recognize and deal with what's happening in your life, it will explode one day. You will not be able to control it. So you need to let these feelings come up. In meditation, many times unresolved issues will come up. You will notice after a period of meditating every day for 5, 10, 15, 20 days, suddenly you think about a fight you had as a child. Or someone that you feel like, I should apologize to that person. I made them feel small. It comes up for me. Just random ideas, things that I've pushed down, that never made me feel good. Something that I did wrong. The time that I took something and put it into my pocket that didn't belong to me. It comes up. And if you don't resolve these things, they become something else. They get fermented. They get distorted. And we have to be very watchful of that. Very, very watchful of that. If you become a victim, then you are just destined for a life of suffering. Suffering is not necessary. Suffering is an option. You don't need to suffer. Pain is part of life. Physical pain. But the suffering that we go through are the stories that we've attached to all these things. So you've been beaten by your husband, and you sit thinking, oh my God, I'm so useless, no wonder he hit me, I've been brought up like this. Instead, if you took action and did something drastic, like, talking to a neighbor or even slapping him back, in his drunken stupor, he'd get shocked. He'd never imagined that you'd do it. We had a show that used to come on Indian television where this film star used to do this. And one of the ladies, this was a Muslim lady, one day she got so fed up of being hit by her husband, she just slapped him back. And that was the day he stopped slapping her. Because every time he slapped her, she just slapped him back. And he was a coward. He wasn't any big brave guy. He was a coward. And suddenly he realized his wife was tougher than she was, than she appeared to be, and she was not going to take it. So you do have a choice. You don't have to be a victim. Never. Not now, not ever. Be comfortable in your life. Be comfortable with who you are. Be comfortable in your relationships. Try and get them on an equal footing. Try and get them on an equal footing. Being in a position of power is as bad as being a victim. Being an abuser or a victim, they're just two sides of the same coin. So, I hope I got you thinking.